All right, everybody. Episode 4, Hoops, Hooks, and Pigskins. Me and Chris again. Wanted to get this show in right before the draft, so we could get our predictions in, and document it before it actually happens on Thursday night. So, Chris, why don't you start out? Because I know we were both in agreement about a month ago that Teddy Bridgewater needed to be the number one pick. What happened?
To be honest, I have no idea what happened. On top of my draft board, I got Teddy Bridgewater still as the best quarterback, best player in the draft. I think people getting scared, man. I know that he had the bad, supposedly bad workout, the pro day, but still, I mean, up until this point, I've always been told you check out the tape, right?
Right.
And now, all of a sudden, the tape don't matter no more with this guy. He come along, it don't matter no more. You look at the tape, he's accurate. He can do what he need to do in the pocket. He can roll out, do what he need to do. I don't know. I mean, he get the ball downfield pretty accurately. I don't know what happened, to be honest. What you think happened?
So I don't understand it either. The guy was no worse than about third in every prediction I saw from about November to the end of March. He didn't participate very much in the combine, and I still think these guys who are top picks, they should participate in the combine. I mean, what's the point of having a combine if the top guy isn't going to do it, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And I think Teddy Bridgewater, what happened with him is, it's a draft that has a lot of solid quarterbacks, no real superstar quarterbacks. He was the closest thing that there was to a superstar quarterback, and he got picked apart more than anybody else. Like right now, I think everybody's talking about, well, not everybody, but a lot of people are talking about Blake Bortles like this is the guy, this is the number one guy, and it's like there's a reason why Blake Bortles was as low as about 3 up until about a month and a half ago. I think his upside, I would say Blake Bortles' upside is something along the lines of a guy like Jay Cutler without the arm strength and maybe better decision making, and that's not bad. I mean, Jay Cutler is a good starting quarterback in the NFL, but I still rank Teddy Bridgewater ahead of him.
I do as well. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't understand what happened, and I think Teddy Bridgewater didn't really do himself any favors by not participating in the combine.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the tape is supposed to matter more than anything else, and I just don't understand what happened.
True that.
I would still think that Jadeveon Clowney is a top prospect on my board, so I wouldn't be upset with Houston if Houston was to go that direction, but I would be upset if Bridgewater dropped out of the top 5, and it seems like that's almost definitely going to happen.
Yeah, that's definite. That's a definite from the way it seems right now. I don't know. The thing that gets me is everyone's falling in love with Derek Carr, and I'm like, he wasn't accurate at all this season, and he played in the just as bad as a conference as Teddy Bridgewater. I don't understand it. I'm confused, man.
I mean, let's be honest. The Mountain West, if anything, if either conference was worse, the Mountain West was worse.
Yeah. Yeah. And to me, somebody asked me, was it racism the other day? And I'm like, I ain't going to say that, I'm not trying to say that, but part of me is like, maybe, you know what I'm saying? Because I just can't see how you can look at that tape for that long of Teddy's and just come to that conclusion that, all right, now he had one bad pro day, which he did. From the little bit of the video I saw, it was kind of bad. To him falling that far, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But Mayock had him like tied for 5th, like with Jimmy Garoppolo for his 5th best quarterback. Now I'm like, damn, dude, it was one bad day. Like it happens all the time, man. So I don't know.
Well, I don't think the top quarterback has that bad of a pro day very often.
Yeah, that's true.
All that said, I do think Mike Mayock completely overreacted to a bad pro day. We've become accustomed to Mike Mayock being more of a voice of reason, and I don't feel like he's been a voice of reason on this particular
Yeah,
player, or just this position, the quarterback position. I mean, his board has changed so much.
yeah.
It's like for a guy who makes a big deal out of he doesn't want to make a mock draft until the very end.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he's made so many changes to his board that it's. I mean, I don't know. I'll say this. I will say this. Teddy Bridgewater has the best tape, and he has the most upside, in my opinion, out of any of the quarterbacks. Now, it's possible that I'm completely wrong, and that a guy like Derek Carr or David Fales might be better.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and eat crow when that happens because it doesn't seem like that's the most likely thing to happen.
Mm-hmm. I'm
All
right
right,
there.
so let's or do you have anything else you want to say?
No, no, no. You said it right. I'll have to eat crow on Teddy Bridgewater. That's why I'm glad we're doing something like this so it can be on tape. That I'm a fan of Teddy Bridgewater. So if he does fail, I can say, you can ask me next year. You were high on Teddy Bridgewater, and I just have to sit here and eat it. So,
Right.
I'll take it.
Well, let's go ahead and get into the rest of the top five. Um, at first there weren't really any offensive players other than the tackles and the quarterbacks who were
Yeah.
getting projected in the top 5 and 10. And now we're starting to see some of the wide receivers work their way in, and possibly even
Ebron.
Eric Ebron. What do you think about that? And just the positional rankings in the draft and where you think everything's going to shake out.
I think in the top 10, like you said, I think the top premier pass rushers are going to be there. I would say there's maybe one or two tackles I would draft in the top 10. I think the quarterbacks are going to do a lot better than people are giving them credit are saying. I think we're probably going to get like three quarterbacks in the top 10.
And who would those three be?
In my opinion, Bortles, Manziel just because he can sell. He can sell tickets. And I think Teddy Bridgewater won't get past 8. I don't think he'll get past 8.
And who are the tackles you think are going to go in the top 10?
Me personally, I like Matthews and I like Greg Robinson.
Okay.
My third favorite tackle is Moses from Virginia, but everyone else has like Taylor Lewin, and
Yeah.
higher than him. But I like Moses a lot when I watch him on tape.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how many wide receivers?
Two. Mike Evans. Mike Evans, and of course Sammy Watkins.
Yeah.
I've been hearing lately that Odell Beckham might go in the top 10. I just don't see that. I don't see. He's not. He's like my fifth favorite wide receiver, but everyone's in love with the guy. I just don't see it. I mean, I haven't seen enough production from him. I like the other guy, Landry, better than I like him. But then again, I also like Jordan Matthews from Vanderbilt built as well. So I don't know.
Right.
Yeah. So
Well, I'm gonna just go ahead and say this. I don't see Evans as a playmaker like that. I mean, to me, Evans is bottom of the first round. I think the playmaker is Manziel. And Manziel plays a quarterback position, so you have to be a playmaker at the quarterback position. But I think even considering that he's the quarterback, he's an exceptional playmaker.
Yeah.
Now, whether or not that's going to translate, I mean, obviously that's the discussion. I mean, that's one of the biggest discussions surrounding this draft, other than maybe why Jadeveon Clowney didn't show out the way he should have last year, and whether injuries. I mean, that's really, was it injuries or is it just work ethic? That's probably the number one, and then after that, is Manziel's playmaking ability gonna translate? And I don't look at Evans like that. I don't look at him as a top 10 pick. I mean, Watkins, yes. I thought he might drop out of the top 10 at the beginning when it looked like a lot of the linebackers and the other edge rushers were going to make it up. But, everybody has him like 7 or 8 right now. So, maybe that's what's going to happen. I will go out and say I don't think Evans is going to produce like that.
I'll say this about my wide receivers. I personally didn't have Watkins going as high as everyone does now. Like people have him going like 2 or 3. I had him going like 7 or 8 or something like that. Like 6 going to um like Tampa Bay or something like that. I didn't have him going as high as a lot of people did because I think people are actually going to draft quarterbacks and they're just not saying it, you know. So I didn't have him going that high.
Okay, so then here's the follow-up question to that.
Yeah.
Who are the Browns picking at 4 and who are the Raiders picking at 5?
The way my drafts was set up, I believe I have the Raiders. I have Jadeveon Clowney first. I have second. I have Robinson um,
Okay.
going to the Rams. Then I have Manziel going to Jacksonville.
Jacksonville, yeah.
I have Blake Bortles going to Cleveland, and then I had Khalil Mack going to the Raiders.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you got your guy, the guy you like.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, maybe it's wishful thinking, but yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's how I had it shaken out. But I just
Okay.
think people are going to draft quarterbacks. I just don't think people are going to pass on these quarterbacks. I mean, because if you wait, you can't wait on them. They're not going to be there later. You know, some of these teams like Tennessee and a few other teams, they're going to pick a quarterback if you don't grab them early. You know, so so these teams are going to kind of their hands going to kind of be forced into grabbing the quarterback, whether they want to or not.
Yeah, I feel you on that. I keep hearing, especially on NFL Network, just about every person who comes out on one of these draft specials on NFL Network is like, well, I think one of these teams is gonna trade back into the first round at the tail end to get these quarterbacks, and I'm like, is that when people get quarterbacks? I mean, how often do we actually? I mean, every year we hear that that's what people are going to do is come from the 30s into the mid 20s to get a quarterback, and it just doesn't ever happen. Um,
Oh,
I mean, I don't disagree with you so much as I just think there are going to be some trades in the top 10.
yeah,
You have a team like the Rams that they got the second pick from the Redskins for,
RG3.
yeah, I mean, it's like, how stupid was that? um, and then Cleveland has 2 first-round picks,
Yeah,
and Atlanta wants to move up from 6, or is at least making it seem like, you know, that might be the plan. So I just think there's going to be some trades. I think that might even be factoring into the whole Teddy Bridgewater dropping thing. Is that there's some team in the top 10, and it might even be Houston, who wants Teddy Bridgewater. They just don't want him as high as he was originally projected.
yeah. I
Because
can
I can't see someone falling from potential number one to like as far as people are having him fall like
Yeah,
just overnight. It just doesn't make sense to me.
it doesn't mean to me either. I don't know. I can see Texans trading out of that spot because I'm not really in love with Jadeveon Clowney like a lot of people are. I know he's a freak athletically, but I can see them trying to trade down and get a quarterback, getting a Blake Bortles or somebody like that, and trading down. Um, because and then someone moving up. But I just don't see people passing up on the opportunity to get these quarterbacks. I just don't see it. Maybe they'll move down and get them a little later. You know, if Atlanta moves up, how many picks do they have in the they're gonna have to give a first and a second or something like that, right?
It depends. I mean, you can give away future picks.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
to
Hell,
get to number one, though, to get
yeah,
to number one, I think they're gonna have to do no less than what the Redskins did to get RG3,
yeah.
which was,
A 1 or 3.
well, it was the sixth round pick from that year, the second round pick. I mean, number six overall pick from
Mm-hmm.
that year, the second round pick from that year, and then 2 more first round picks, no conditions on them. That's how St. Louis got this number 2 overall pick because the Redskins
And
were
they have
terrible.
another one coming.
No, this is the last one.
Oh,
They got one last year, and then they got this number 2 pick. And they might have even gotten another, like a third round pick last year.
oh, okay. Damn.
Yeah,
That's
it was a lot. It was a lot.
But I mean, for a guy that you've won a division with already, and it's in the 2 years you've had him, I guess it's mildly worth it. I don't know. And if he can get back to being healthy, I guess it would be worth it because you have your franchise quarterback. So
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, but
I'm disappointed though. I don't think my Raiders are going to get their franchise quarterback in this draft.
well, I don't know if there's a franchise quarterback in this draft, and that's the problem. I think there could be as many as three.
I have two. I have two.
Yeah, okay. I mean, you're probably right. I'm just saying that I
No,
think the upside is three,
yeah,
and there's probably only one, and you just have to figure out who he is.
who he is. Yeah.
Um, what do you think about the linebackers? And then let's go into defensive tackles.
All right. Okay. The linebackers.
I mean, you got Mac. You already got Mac going to your boys, but
Yeah. Yeah. So, the linebackers. I remember at one point in time I was high on Anthony Barr. I've kind of slid off after watching his tape a little more. You know, after you watch it the 20th and 30th time, you're like, you started. I guess that's what happened with Teddy Bridgewater. You started to make up flaws for guys. Oh, he doesn't do this well. He doesn't do that well. I just think he's inexperienced at the position. He's a lot of times he's out of position and he doesn't have enough moves for me. So I like Anthony Barr, but I moved him down like to the range with like 12 to 16 range on my board. But you know, Max is my favorite. He's my favorite player, bar none, in the draft. He's my
okay.
favorite player. But I always give quarterback a bump up above everybody because if you find that quarterback in the NFL, you're set. You know.
Right, right.
So, but I think Max is my favorite player. I think he's going to be awesome. I like C.J. Mosley, but I just don't trust Alabama.
Okay.
I hate to be that way. You know how like the USC thing with quarterbacks, where people are like, "Oh, he went to USC, he's not going to pan out as a quarterback."
Yeah.
Starting to get like that towards Alabama when it comes to linebackers, because a lot of those guys, well, a lot of their football players don't pan out well. Period. Their offensive linemen do, but I'm starting to think it's something going on with the system and how athletic they are for playing against you. When you have that collection of athletes on the field together, I think it makes them look more impressive than they are when you throw them in with some guys that are comparable in the NFL. You know?
Yeah, and I think I was talking to one of my coworkers today at work, and I was like, I think with Seattle, that's kind of what's going on with their defense. They have the secondary, which is just phenomenally talented, and then everybody else. I mean, it's like with Cliff Avril, Michael Bennett. It's like these guys were not good in other
No.
places, but
Yeah.
they're good in Seattle, and the reason why is because that secondary just shuts everything down.
Yeah.
And because nobody's ever getting open, there's enough time for guys to make plays. It's like these guys are half a second slow elsewhere, and that's the difference between a big play and not.
Yeah.
But they get that extra half second in Seattle. And that might be what's going on in Alabama is that everything is so perfectly coordinated that the plays are going to get made,
Yeah.
regardless of who it is. The guy's going to be athletic enough to do it.
Yeah.
But I would say I do like C.J. Mosley. I do like Anthony Barr. If I had a top five pick, I would probably spend one on Anthony Barr. To me, he's the best
Change the
linebacker.
game. He can
Uh,
change the game from the linebacker position.
yeah, I mean, I have him as my top linebacker in the draft. I have Mac as number two, but you know, I don't have a problem either way.
Yeah.
Have him being drafted that however you want it. I mean, however you rate them and whoever you think is the best, that's who you go with. And um, one thing I thought was going to happen, but it doesn't seem like it's going to shake out this way. Is you have a lot of big defensive linemen, especially defensive tackles, and with the emphasis on this run stopping scheme in the 3-4.
Mm-hmm.
I thought more of the defensive tackles were going to be drafted higher. It seems like they're all going to go at the end of the first round or sometime in the second round. What do you think about that? I mean, is that how you see it playing out? And to build on that, what is the position that you could see getting drafted like sometime middle of the first round that could just create a run? I mean, defensive tackle, corner, safety. Which one do you think is the most likely for that
I
to
think
happen at?
I think middle front round, first round. I think cornerback is going to be on the run from about somewhere either. It all depends on how well people think of Dinar. Um,
Okay.
because they're all so similarly grouped as far as talent wise, like Denard, Gilbert, Fuller. What's the guy from
Roby. Roby.
Roby?
Roby. Yeah.
What's the guy from TCU as well? He's right there too.
Oh,
Um,
I don't know. I don't know.
they're all right there, and as talent wise, and it's like teams that need cornerbacks are just like you said, like I said, is going to be on a run. And towards the end of the first round, I do think that they're going to same thing's going to happen with the D lineman. At some point, it's just you run out of value with the other positions where you're going to just have to start picking the best, the defensive lineman. I think Donald should go really high. I'm a big fan of Donald. He's
What
just
about Knicks?
Nick's. He's really good. I think his injuries more than anything else with him because
Yeah.
he kind of banged up the last half, the last bit of the last two seasons. So he's been banged up a lot. So I think injuries is what has moved up some of these other people. Like you see Jernigan name is mentioned more than Knicks now. You see what's the Rashad Hagman from Minnesota. He's on tape. He's not anything special, but he's a big guy. Everybody.
He's moving up everybody's board, though.
Yeah. So the athleticism is there. So, but he's too inconsistent on tape for me. I don't know. But again, I'm not the one. I'm not the one getting paid hundreds of $1,000s to make these choices. So it's just me sitting at home.
Right. Right.
But he's moving up. I like Tuitt from Notre Dame as well. Stephon Tuitt.
Uh-huh.
I think he'll be a solid pro. I know we were talking about D lineman, but I just wanted to mention one linebacker to you. I don't know if you've seen him, the Van Noy guy from BYU.
No, no. Was he at the combine? He must have been at the
Oh
combine.
yeah, he had to be at the combine. Go back and check his tape out. The dude he's incredible. Like I'm surprised like his name isn't coming up higher as far as the first round, but this dude can flat out ball. And he's somebody you might want to have your Chargers take a look at if you guys because you guys are in the market for a linebacker.
Well, we're in the market for anything on defense, man.
Yeah.
Anything on defense. I mean, I think our offense is okay. I mean,
Yeah.
probably offensive line needs some work, but anything on defense, man.
Yeah. But check him out. Check him out. Van Noy. The dude he's gonna be special. I'm hoping he falls to my Raiders in the second round. But
I used to know everything about the BYU players when they were in the Mountain West, but now they're not. And so,
certainly, yeah. I'm almost wishing that like someone like Sammy Watkins falls to the Raiders so we can get him, and then hopefully Van Noy's there in the second round so we can get him. But if Khalil Mack's there, I want Khalil Mack more.
Yeah, at 5, I think Mack is better value than Watkins.
Yeah. Either way, I just hope their decision, because we're not getting a quarterback. I just hope that decision doesn't hold the organization back for a long period of time. I'm not a fan of any of the quarterbacks for next year, any of them. That includes Jameis Winston, by the way.
Well,
I'm not a fan of crab cake.
yeah, okay.
Crab
Well, I think we're pretty much in agreement. For me, I just felt like there was a lot more talent on the defensive end of the ball this year.
Yeah.
But somehow all the offensive players started to work. Like I was talking to there's a guy who works on my job, but he's from the New York region, and he had been down in town, and he was talking about like they were saying that the Giants are trying to get Eric Ebron, and I was like, I don't know if I'm sold on Ebron. I think Jason Morrow might be a better value like later,
I think so too, man. I like Jason a lot. But when you look at Ebron, he looks like Gates, but I don't know if he has the consistency of a Gates.
Nah, he's a fucking weirdo, man. Like the dude, I can see that guy being a serious competitor.
Yeah.
Like that's a guy who relies mostly on his athleticism, which all right, it's good for his size, but if he ends up being good, I will say this right now, he might be good for 5 years, and I don't even think he will be, but he might be good for 5 years. After that, I don't ever see that guy being like a wily veteran Whereas with Gates, even with his injuries, he's a wily veteran.
Yeah.
I would rather get a guy like Jason Morrow. Now, granted, tight end is not as deep as it was last year. Last year, you had three really good tight ends. And, some of the other guys might pan out to be pretty good also. But this year, I don't think of tight end as a first-round position.
Yeah. And these guys, I think that's a problem for the evaluators because these guys were flexed out a lot. Like, you see Jason Morrow in the slot just as much as you see, him at the end of the line. So it was like, I think it's confusing people the way the game's being spread out and the value for these guys. So that's why I think, people aren't, looking at these guys the way they used to. And
yeah,
same thing with running back. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's no.
But the effect on the running back position has been the opposite. Everybody's falling out of the first round. Where at tight end, guys are coming into the first round.
Yeah,
they're not really first round running back. Like, how do you run for 2,000 yards and nobody has you going in the first round? But that's what's going on with what's his name?
Williams?
Yeah, Andre Williams.
What round is he even being projected to go in? Like, he's being projected
second or third.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah. And I mean Trey Mason. Okay, fine. And Bishop Sankey and all these guys are second round picks, and I can't really argue with that, except for the fact that no running backs in the first round and two tight ends in the first round. I mean, that I don't see the talent working out that way. So it's like, if we're talking about the Giants at number 12, and they're just hoping and praying that Eric Ebron makes it to number 12, I'm like, I don't think he's anywhere near the 12th best player in the draft.
Nah, I wouldn't say. I would say needs-based, yes. He's in the top 12. Because if you need a tight end or you're looking for someone, say like someone like Buffalo, they have some fairly good receivers, and you just want to have a little more versatility on offense, you can grab someone like Eric Ebron, or you're the Giants where you got, Victor Cruz, you got a couple good receivers, and then I can see the value. But I think there are so many good, like you said, defensive players that I wouldn't pick them that early.
But that's needs, like you're saying, needs. I'm talking about if you just look at everybody in the draft.
Best player available.
12th best? No. Maybe 20th best, but not 12th best.
Yeah. But, people are enticed. You see the Jimmy Grahams of the world. You look at Ebron, you say, hey, he has the body, the frame to be a Jimmy Graham, and you're just banking that he's Jimmy Graham or what's our guy, Gronkowski or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, to me that's wishful thinking. But, I've been wrong plenty of times before.
Yeah. I agree. I'm with you. But the dude is a physical specimen, though. I mean, but, it's like having another Vernon Davis on your team,
Yeah. I don't know. For me, I'm just looking at these linebackers and I'm like, wow, look at that athleticism.
Yeah.
When I look at the offensive players, I'm not like really overwhelmed by the athleticism.
You don't see it with Ebron?
Not the way I see it with Anthony Barr and
Barr flashes. You put on that Barr tape, you're gonna be impressed.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like when I watch Anthony Barr, I'm like, this guy cannot make it out of the top 10.
Yeah.
When I watch Eric Ebron, I'm like, yeah, if I wanted a tight end and I had a second half of the first round pick, I would probably want him.
Yeah.
But other than that, I wouldn't. A number 8 pick on Eric Ebron, no. Like that's the way I look at it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a fair way to go about it.
Okay. Where's Manziel going?
I told you. I have Manziel going number 3 to Jacksonville.
You did say that, and I forgot.
Where do you have Manziel going?
I think he has to go in the top 10.
Yeah.
Where exactly, I don't know. But I think he has to go in the top 10.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't, he probably will slide pretty far. And that would probably be one of the first times in a very long time that we see someone trade out of the top of the second round into the bottom of the first round to pick up a quarterback. Because everybody has been saying that Cleveland is going to pick a quarterback with that 26th pick. Someone will probably jump Cleveland, or Cleveland might jump up a few spots. Um, and it would depend on, does Bridgewater really fall that far? Is Manziel still there? Who do they pick there? I don't really think that's a likely scenario though. I think they're both gone no later than about, who needs a quarterback at about mid first round?
Nobody.
Yeah, nobody. Yeah, I think they're both gone by the top 10. I think all three of those guys, Bortles, Bridgewater, and Manziel are gone in the top 10.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's what makes the most sense. And I think Derek Carr gets picked at the end of the first round.
I,
I think that's what happens.
I think on my latest mock, I have Manziel going at 3. I have Bortles going at 4. I have Derek Carr getting picked before Bridgewater at um 20 to Arizona, and then the Cincinnati Bengals picking Bridgewater at 26.
Oh, oh, really?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what, is there a real competition there, or is
I
Dalton
mean,
just
are
getting
you are you settling on Andy Dalton as your quarterback of the future?
I don't know. I don't know. It's tough because Andy Dalton is getting the team to the playoffs. I mean, obviously the team is
No, the
talented.
team is getting to the
Obviously,
playoffs despite Andy
okay,
Dalton.
the team is talented in spite of whatever mistakes Andy Dalton has made.
Yeah,
Um, I'm not a big fan. I've never been a big fan of giving up on a quarterback that shows potential, and especially when the Chargers did that with Drew Brees, I really turned against it. So I'm probably the last person to turn against a quarterback who's shown flashes of being pretty good.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I never thought about that. That's interesting. I have to think about that over the next couple of days.
But I would hope that Minnesota would be smart enough to pick Bridgewater
Yeah,
at 8.
yeah.
You got Matt Castle and Christian Ponder as your quarterbacks. I would think someone in your organization would say, "Hey, this guy's out here, pick him up."
Yeah,
But
but Minnesota was stupid enough to pick Christian Ponder in the first round.
yeah, that is true. That is true. So yeah, you got a point there. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, all right. So let's end it there.
Mhm.
I think we covered most of at least first round topics. What are your thoughts on the NBA playoffs so far?
Oh man, fantastic, man. This shit's been great. You can't ask for more. It's been how many game sevens did we have? What, 5 game
Yeah,
sevens?
yeah, it was nuts.
It's crazy. Um, I'm really intrigued now to see this Clippers Thunder series after they blew them out last night. It's like, damn, like are they? Do you think the Clippers could use this Donald Sterling as fuel, like on their way to like a championship?
I fucking hope not. No, I'm
Me too.
serious.
Like, how do you? Yeah, like, oh,
This this is one of the most bizarre things that has happened in professional sports in a while. I was praying that the Warriors would beat the Clippers.
me too.
And the reason why, obviously, I'm from San Diego and I hold a grudge. I don't like the Clippers. I will never like the Clippers. And the whole thing with Donald Sterling, I mean, he was the guy who pulled the team out of San Diego. So I guess I should be happy that he's going to be gone or whatever. But I don't, I don't like the way Doc Rivers coaches basketball. To me, it's boring. He took he took one of the most entertaining teams to watch and made them boring from time to time. I mean, when they actually do beat a good team, they are fun to watch.
Yeah.
But like I said, I hold a grudge, and I'm still upset that David Stern put Chris Paul on the Clippers.
Yeah. Yeah. I can dig that. I can dig that. I can dig that.
And
Damn.
so, like, I just don't want the Clippers to do well.
Yeah.
I don't ever want, until they have a completely different nucleus of players and different coach and everything, like, I don't want them to do well.
Yeah.
Actually, I probably never will want them to do well.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I forgot your allegiance for a while there, for a second there.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like the Warriors. That's
Yeah,
the other California team that I will root for.
yeah,
But no, I mean I'm a Laker fan. I mean
yeah,
I'm not gonna hide that. There's no reason to. And maybe I'm just bitter, but I am a Laker fan, and that's the Laker fan in me.
yeah,
And I like Kevin Durant. I mean he's from DC. I've lived in the DC area for a long time, and I'm rooting for them.
yeah. I can dig that. What do you think about the other series, the Spurs and Portland? Who you got tonight?
Yeah, it's tough. I love Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard is one of my favorite players in the NBA. I was kind of like, yeah, LaMarcus Aldridge is playing well, but Damian Lillard is the guy that makes that team go, you know. But I think by the end of that series, Lillard showed out, and
Yeah,
he really needed
yeah,
it. He was the reason why Portland pulled that out.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
definitely.
but um, Kawhi Leonard is on the Spurs, and I've never been a big Spurs fan. But Tim Duncan is starting to play well. Kawhi Leonard is doing what he needs to do. Manu Ginobili is being the game changer that he needs to be, and Tony Parker is you know, quarterbacking the game well. I think the Spurs have to win this. That's the best team in the West, probably.
Yeah, you think? Yeah, I guess so. I guess so. Yeah, yeah. I'm really disappointed in the Thunder. They haven't looked good at all with Westbrook for some reason. I don't know what it is, what their issue is. I don't know if they can play together without. For some reason, when they had Harden, it all seemed to work, but without Harden, it doesn't work as well, which is weird.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you think about it, it's like a real engine. It's like a genuinely real engine.
Yeah,
You're missing one spark plug. You're not firing on all cylinders. You might have like the nicest V6, turbocharged V6, but if you're not firing on all cylinders, it doesn't work the way it's supposed to.
yeah, that's true. That's true. What do you think about the Eastern Conference? How do you rooting for the Wizards?
I'm rooting for the Wizards.
Yeah,
No, you know, I like the way the Pacers team was built,
yeah,
and I would have no problem with them winning. And I think that once that team gets back to playing the way that it was playing earlier in the season, that's the only team that has a chance of beating the Heat.
yeah.
Um, but I am rooting for the Wizards. I really thought they were at least a year or two off,
Hmm.
and I was wrong, obviously.
Yeah,
But that series, I'm pulling for the Wizards, but I'm just enjoying good basketball.
yeah, yeah,
And whoever wins is who I'm going to be rooting for out of the East. Obviously, I consider the Heat the class of that. I would have loved to have seen the Heat and the Raptors. To me, I would have just been rooting for good basketball all throughout the East if that would happen. But you know, somebody needs to take Brooklyn out to the forest, look that team in its doughy eyes, and just put it out of its misery.
yeah. Hey man, I'm with you there, man. Yeah, man. They're old. They're not going to beat anybody. Their players, the younger players, they don't have any good people. It's Marcus Thornton. Do you like Marcus Thornton as a player?
I don't know.
I
He's
can't
okay.
stand that
I
dude.
mean, I honestly, my favorite player on that team is Joe Johnson, which is a problem because I've always thought of Joe Johnson as being a little bit overrated. Like, yeah, talented, but a
Yeah,
little bit overrated.
yeah.
Whereas with Toronto, I like a lot of players on that team.
I like DeRozan. Terrence Ross is pretty good. I like Vuja Valanciunas, or however you say his name, or they're a pretty good team. They got a pretty good squad.
Yeah, I was disappointed they lost. I mean, they blew a lead too late.
Well,
I
the
mean,
final shot, though, you know what I mean? Came down to a shot, and he blocked it, you know?
yeah, yeah. I mean, how do you get into the paint and get the final shot of the game blocked by a non-shot blocker who's lost most of his athleticism?
I don't know, man.
That's the first thing that I thought when it happened. I was like, how do you let him block your shot?
uh, yeah,
You
that's
get into his chest, you get into his chest, he should end up on his ass, and you should score the game-winning basket.
yeah, that's true. I mean, but Lowry's banged up though, so you know it took heart to even perform like he did during the series. So they're young, they'll learn, they'll be back next year. Hopefully, no one gets hurt, anything like that. What,
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, I've always thought Kyle Lowry's biggest weakness was that at Villanova he played in a four guard offense,
yeah,
and he never really learned how to play point guard the way you have to play point guard in the NBA
yeah,
because he was just surrounded by guards, and so in his mind, I got to get it right into the defender's chest, and I got to challenge him on every single play.
yeah,
On that play, if you're gonna get into his chest, you better convert or get a foul, like an
hmm,
obvious foul. Otherwise, pull up, try to shoot, or find somebody open.
yeah,
Don't get your shot blocked.
yeah. That's true. That's true. Maybe at the time, at the during the moment, things happen.
Oh
You,
yeah, definitely. That's definitely what it was. I mean,
yeah,
there's no other way to explain it. I mean, like it's a clutch shot, and you want a guy who's willing to take it, right?
yeah.
But obviously hindsight is 2020, but you can't lose that game. That's game seven.
At home, nonetheless. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. You can't let that happen.
Okay, so what are your predictions? Every single series, who are you picking?
All right, rundown. My rundown. I have the Wiz winning 4-2 against Indiana. I have the Heat winning 5-1 against the Nets. I have the Spurs and Trailblazers is a toss up, but I'm going to say Spurs in 6. They seem to get better as time goes along. So I'll say Spurs in 6. And then I'll say the final one, Clippers, Thunder. I have the Clippers in 6. I'm gonna say 6.
Okay.
How about
I
you?
got the Thunder in 7.
Okay.
I also have the Spurs in 6.
Hmm.
Um, I have the Pacers in 7, and I have the Heat in 4.
Okay.
I I um I do want the Wizards to win,
Yeah.
but I just think eventually Indiana's gonna get back to its full strength, and I think Kevin Durant is not gonna let his team lose.
Yeah. I just don't back to as far as the Pacers go. I mean, get back to full strength. They don't have anybody hurt. It's just some turmoil going on with that team that's just not right. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Ever since they picked up Evan Turner, they got Bynum. They just been in the tank, man. I don't know what the hell's going on. So I don't know if they can recover.
I
Um,
just think they're a more talented team.
they,
I guess that's what I'm saying. They're a more talented team, and they're going to start playing up to their potential at
so,
some
so
point.
Roy Hibbert's going to start playing up to his potential.
And Paul George, everybody. I mean, I don't understand what happened. They just, I don't know. Like to me, that team is more talented than it's been playing for the last 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That is true.
And I mean, like one of the reasons why I thought the Wizards were a year or two off was because I was like, at some point, Otto Porter is going to get healthy, start playing, and he's going to contribute in ways that guys like Trevor Ariza just can't.
Hmm.
And you know what? They didn't need Otto Porter.
Yeah, yeah. So that's going to be an interesting dilemma for them. If the way Trevor Reeves is playing, you're going to have to re-sign him.
And that's not a bad thing.
Yeah,
That's a good problem to have.
yeah. Yeah, it's like when the Lakers traded him. I didn't understand why they would get rid of him, like when you guys had him for. I mean, I know Ron Artest is
Hey,
the better
hey,
GM.
hey! I don't want to hear about that. That's sore memories, man. Sore memories.
uh, I don't know what your topic list is. Do we have a little time to go into what you think about what your Lakers need to do? I hear you guys are reaching out for
You
one.
can go ahead and do that. You can go ahead and do that. But then after that, we're gonna go with who you picked and how the finals are gonna end up.
All right, okay, all right. So what are you guys doing with this? I'm hearing you guys going to pick Roy Williams. I mean, what the hell's going on with that? Looking at Roy Williams to come in and coach the team from North Carolina.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I haven't been paying attention to the coaching search,
Yeah,
but if I'm Roy Williams, and don't get me wrong, I mean, there is not a yeah, I'll go ahead and say it. There's not a more prestigious basketball coaching job than coaching the Lakers. But if I'm Roy Williams, I'm not leaving North Carolina for what's going on in LA right now.
yeah. You want to be
Um,
the next guy. You don't want to be this guy.
yeah, I think right now whoever coaches the Lakers is going to be Rudy Tomjanovich. When he got the job from Phil Jackson.
Yeah,
Um, there's another guy. I mean, it's not going to be Phil, and it never will be Phil. I don't think Phil will ever have, even as an executive, I don't think he'll have the type of success that he's had as a coach. And hopefully it's someone like a Shaka Smart or something like that,
yeah,
somebody who you can root for. But
yeah.
if if it's Roy Williams, I feel like Roy would have made a mistake because right now, the only way you're going to win with the Lakers is by praying to whatever deity it is that you worship that Kobe Bryant is going to remain healthy and you're going to get luck out on one of these cheap free agent signings and your draft pick is going to turn out to be better than should have been based on the projections,
Yeah,
if you want to win within the next year or two.
yeah.
So, I mean, whoever, but if it's Roy Williams, I will feel bad for the guy because he has a good job right now.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree. I don't think he'd make that. I don't think he would make the move. I mean, he supposedly turned you guys down before when you guys had like Shaq and all those guys. So I don't know. 'Cause Mitch Kupchak went to North Carolina. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So
I mean,
anyway, back to what you were saying. I was just wondering what you thought. I thought you had heard about that and wanted to hear what you had thought. Well,
no, I actually have been a little bit avoiding it a little bit because it's not a situation that I'm really concerned with until I figure out where we're drafting.
yeah, I can see. Yeah.
But what are your predictions for the rest of the playoffs?
Um,
Assuming that the teams you pick win.
all right. Like I said, I have Spurs and I have the Clippers. In the West, like I don't know, just I don't know. I think I'm still on a high from last night, but the Clippers looked really good last night. Did you watch that game?
Only a little bit. I didn't watch the end.
Oh man, that the way they played last night, I'm like, that's the best team in the West.
Okay.
But then again, it's the Spurs. They're gritty. They know how to win. So I'd have to pick the Spurs just because I don't want to see any team associated with Donald Sterling winning anything. Um, so I'd have to root for the Spurs. I hate to say it. I'm not even being you know, I'd have to root for the Spurs.
Yeah, you're not being an objective observer. I get it, but I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
say
but
what you need to say.
yeah. But like you, I just don't want them to win. I mean, that money's still going in his pocket. I don't want it to go in his pocket. Um, even if I was being objective, they're probably not going to beat the Spurs. Um, and then in the East, of course, I have Miami, and then I have the Wizards, and then Miami's experiences. Miami's going to go back to the finals. Probably going to do it in relatively quick fashion, probably 4-1 or 4-2 or something like that. I think the Spurs and Clippers will go 7 games with the Spurs pulling it out, and then they'll beat Miami in the finals. And I would say Miami would be the winner.
Okay. Yeah, I think you know, I remember maybe it was right after the draft last year.
Hmm.
They asked Magic Johnson who was going to go back to the finals, and he predicted the Heat and the Spurs. And I was like yelling at the TV. I'm like, that's so fucking predictable, like that sort of thing. I think that's what it's going to be. I
Yeah.
think it's going to be the Heat and the Spurs again. And I think this time the Spurs are going to win.
Wow.
Um, And the reason why is because I just always felt that Tim Duncan had the type of pride, and Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker had the type of pride where they cared so much more than most of the guys who they were playing against. They just cared so much more. And the fact that they lost last year, they blew it. They could have won, and they just didn't make the plays down the stretch in Game
Mm-hmm.
6. I think they'll find a way to win this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
But obviously, the Heat are the most talented team. I mean, that's the most talented team in the NBA, and it's not even. LeBron is just playing at such a high level. He
Mm-hmm.
doesn't even have to try to be by far the best player in the league.
Yeah.
Kevin Durant is playing at a very high level also, but his team isn't clicking the way that
Yeah.
LeBron's team is clicking.
Certainly. Certainly. And I would say Kevin hasn't played at a high level in the playoffs, with the exception of 1 or 2 games. He hasn't played at a very high level.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
LeBron didn't have to, though. He hasn't been challenged. I mean, they played the Bobcats with Al Jefferson on a bad ankle, or with bad foot actually. So
Yeah, Al Jefferson just never got better.
yeah, 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 yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I think the X factor is Russell Westbrook, though. I mean, I love Russell Westbrook. I was talking about Damian Lillard being one of my favorite players. Russell Westbrook is probably my favorite basketball player in the world right now.
I like him. I like him a lot, but he's got to develop a jump shot at some point.
Okay, I mean, I'll accept that. But I mean, this is a guy who could probably jump up, sit on the rim, touch his toes, and then do
He's
a,
a
do
freak
a
of
360 and dunk it. I mean, like, like it's just so fun to watch the things that he does on the court.
he's a freak of nature, but until he gets a jump shot and he's not as dominant of the ball to do whatever it is that he does, it it's not going to work because they pretty much play the ball every time down court. It's either in his hands or Durant's hands, and everybody else is just kind of standing and watching. And it's predictable. And at some point, people key in on it. Playoffs, people figure out how to stop it, and then there you go. I mean, then you're in a game 7 against the Grizzlies.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, fine. You got me there.
Yeah,
But I still think he's the X factor.
yeah, definitely, definitely.
Because when he's on, they have two guys you just can't guard.
Yeah, that's true.
And I would just wish that from now until their season ends, that those two guys play at the top of their capabilities, because that team is really fun to watch when it's playing
When
well.
they're hot, yeah, they are. They are. They are. They are.
But
They're
I do agree with you. I think it's going to be the Heat and the Spurs, and I guess we just disagree on how it's going to turn out. And I just believe in the Spurs' heart a little bit more than I believe in the Heat's talent.
yeah, well, we'll see. I don't
No,
know.
you're probably right. Don't
Yeah,
get me wrong. I mean, you're probably right.
yeah.
I'm just banking on something that I think might work out.
Don't take the Heat's heart for granted now. I mean, LeBron doesn't like the scrutiny that he goes through when he loses. I don't. So when you got a guy with that kind of talent, I don't think he's going to lose anytime soon.
Maybe not. Maybe not. All right. So let's get into boxing. A couple of interesting things. Floyd Mayweather, I'll say it was the toughest fight he ever had in his entire career. He won, but it was the toughest fight he ever had in his career, and a lot of people weren't necessarily predicting that it was going to be that tough. Um, Oscar De La Hoya had a press conference before the fight, basically telling Richard Schaefer that he was in control of the company, that he was going to, guide the company the way he wanted to guide it. We have middleweight, the real middleweight championship of the world between Sergio Maravilla Martinez and Miguel Cotto.
Yeah,
Independent of whatever HBO wants us to believe about Triple G, Maravilla is the middleweight champion.
yeah.
And then around the corner there is Canelo against Erislandy Lara on pay-per-view on Showtime. What are your thoughts on all of that?
All right. Who was the first one to give them to me one at a time here, so I can.
Mayweather,
Mhm.
Mayweather, then Martinez and Cotto, and then Canelo and Lara.
All right. Um, the Mayweather fight was an interesting fight. It was good to see the champ challenged. Me and you disagree on how much the champ was challenged, but I think it was a good fight. It was something that boxing needed, because if he would have just run roughshod over Maidana, it would have been hard for him to sell fights going forward. By him fighting the way he did, Maidana, that is, it made it seem like Mayweather may be vulnerable going forward, which could possibly, you know, bring some intrigue into his fights going forward. So I thought that was pretty good. Thought it was a good fight, good
Let
challenge.
me let me cut you off real quick.
Yeah.
What was your score?
Um. Uh. At the time, I didn't score it. Let's say this: I didn't actually score it. I didn't score it like a normal judge, but I, I,
Okay.
I sat there and I could see how the scores were tabulated.
Okay.
I could see how one judge would have it a draw because there was some part of me with that emotion from the early rounds where I was saying, well, while Maidana's kind of starting to build a little lead here, and then I can see Floyd when after round 4 or 5 where he just completely started changing the way the fight was going. So I was thinking, like me, I had after round 5, I think I had it 4-1 Maidana, and I just thought that Floyd kind of won the rest of them. So you do the math.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, after 5 rounds, I had it 3-2 Maidana,
Yeah,
and then I gave Floyd 6 out of the last 7, so I had it 8-4.
yeah,
And of course, I believe that my score was perfect. So anybody who had it a draw, I disagreed with.
hmm,
The thing is that I've never seen Floyd Mayweather in a fight where I honestly thought it was 8-4 because he was actually getting hands put on him.
yeah,
And I think I think the only other fight I might have scored that close for him was him against Judah. Even when he fought Goto and he got his nose bloody,
yeah,
I think I still scored that 9-3. Um, so that's why I say it was the toughest fight he ever had because in this fight he was actually getting like he went to the corner. He was like, I can't see. Like he was frustrated, and I've never seen him that frustrated.
yeah,
Um, so that's what I meant by that.
yeah,
Um,
sure.
I agree with you that it was good. It was good for the sport. But let's get into this. They're talking about Maidana needs a rematch, and that's going to be Floyd's fight in September. What do you think about that?
I don't know about that. I mean, the way the scorecard read, it's not necessary. I don't see why Floyd would take the fight. Um, But I mean, his options are limited in September, though. With Amir Khan, who saying he won't fight in September because of Ramadan, he be coming off Ramadan's in July this year, I believe, and he's saying he won't have time to recover to make the fight. So his options may be limited. I mean, so he might just have to fight him. Who else is there for him to fight? I'm gonna ask you as the boxing expert.
Well, what about Danny Garcia? Would you be interested in seeing him fight Danny Garcia?
I just wow. What weight would they fight at? Would Danny would have to come up for that, wouldn't he?
Yeah, I mean it'd be 47. I mean Danny's the 140-pound champion.
Yeah,
Floyd's the
I
147
wouldn't.
pound champion.
I don't know because no, that would take the intrigue out of it though.
Okay. Okay.
Because he's a smaller guy and you know what Floyd needs someone that's going to be aggressive, going to get on top of him. So, but Garcia is pretty. Nah, I just can't see that fight working.
I think really the only thing that Floyd has over Danny Garcia is reach. But
Yeah.
Garcia fights taller than Floyd most of the time.
Hmm.
Floyd's mostly about timing.
Yeah.
And there's very little you can do about the fact that Floyd times well.
Yeah.
I think Maidana's strategy of just winging punches from all these different angles and the fact that he really wasn't going to get hurt by anything that Floyd was throwing,
Yeah.
especially in the first 8 rounds. Later in the fight, he started feeling Floyd's punches a little bit more. Um, yeah, Danny can't really do that. That's not how Danny fights.
No.
But um, I just don't like the idea of Floyd fighting a rematch that's not 100% necessary with only 3 fights left.
Yeah, I agree. I would agree.
The only way I would think it's good is if it's like a huge event, like Miguel Cotto beats Maravilla for the middleweight title, and Floyd goes up to rematch Cotto for the middleweight title.
Yeah,
Something like that would be worth it. I mean, I wouldn't care. Like,
yeah,
it makes perfect sense. It's going to be a huge event, middleweight title, a lot of money. Like, you can't argue with that. But Maidana, again, I mean, he beat him. I mean, yeah, it was a tough fight, but he beat him.
hmm yeah, I agree. And you said Martinez and Cotto.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I just don't think Cotto can fight that type of size and win. I just don't. I don't think he can do it because I don't. I just don't see him. What was the guy he fought where he was completely dominated? The black guy that lost to Canelo.
Austin Trout.
Trout. Yeah, the way he looked in that fight. I mean, I know Martinez hasn't looked great lately in fighting, but I think that I just don't see Cotto winning that fight. I don't think he carries that weight well. I don't think that's the right weight class for him. So I have Martinez winning that. I don't think he'll knock him out, but it'll be a pretty dominant performance. 12-round decision for Martinez.
Right. All right.
What do you say?
Okay. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
I don't have anything else to say. That's exactly what I see happening. Canelo and Erislani Lara.
Now that's a good fight. Now that's a good fight. Uh, I don't know. I don't know. I'm honestly. I have to think about that one because that's a fight that. Oh man, that's a good fight. I don't know. I don't know. Who do you have? I really haven't. I can't pick on that one yet. I got to think about that. It's gonna take me a while to come up with one on that one. You digging in for this one?
Yeah, yeah. This is it. All right. I've been saying this for maybe 2 years. I thought Robert Guerrero, if he was able to land his jab, could have given Floyd Mayweather a lot of problems because Zab Judah was able to out jab Floyd Mayweather for the first half of the fight, and he was able to use his athleticism to give Floyd Mayweather some trouble.
Yeah.
But the problem with Zab Judah is that he's very unimaginative with his punching.
Mm-hmm.
His like how he sets up his punches and all. Like it's real predictable.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that he's so fast that a lot of people have trouble with it.
Yeah.
Whereas with Robert Guerrero, if he was able to out jab Floyd Mayweather, he's a little bit more creative with where and how and which punches he throws.
Yeah.
He wasn't really able to do that the way he wanted to, and that's why he got dominated by Floyd Mayweather. But Erislani Lara is also a southpaw.
Yeah.
Has a very good jab and is, more creative than the two of them
Yeah.
combined.
Good fighter.
Has a very good uppercut. Is able to land his straight left really well and countering whatever it is that's coming at him.
Mm-hmm.
And so my thing is that whatever Zab Judah was able to do to Floyd Mayweather, Erislani Lara can do, and he can do it for 12 rounds, not just 5.
Yeah.
So I've always thought that if it ever got to that point, Erislani Lara could probably beat Floyd Mayweather. I mean, whether or not it actually happens, I mean, who knows? I mean,
Yeah.
beating Floyd Mayweather is a lot different than talking about potentially being able to do it.
Yeah.
But I never thought he was going to get to the position where he could do it. But if he beats Canelo, because Canelo's whole point in taking on tough challenges like Austin Trout, even Alfredo Angulo coming off of a loss, I mean, it's still a tough challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And Erislani Lara is to try and get himself back in position where he can get a rematch with Floyd Mayweather before Mayweather retires.
Yeah.
But if Lara were to beat Canelo, that would put him in the discussion also because technically Floyd Mayweather is still the 154-pound champion.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say this. I think Lara's going to beat Canelo. If Canelo beats Lara, then he deserves a rematch with Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah. Either one of them would be a good contender for Floyd. Not either way. Either way, whoever wins that fight should fight Floyd at some point in the future.
Yeah, I agree, and I think Lara's gonna win the fight.
Yeah,
But if Canelo wins the fight, I'll be very I will I will be more impressed than I was with him beating Trout. I will be more impressed with him beating Angulo the way he did.
yeah,
And you know, I picked Angulo to beat him, so
yeah, yeah, yeah.
that wasn't a smart thing. But you know, my mom's from Mexicali, so I got a little bit excited.
You a lot excited.
Things happen in life, you know.
All right, what's the
Okay, let's get into the whole Golden Boy thing. I mean, you know, there was the big Golden Boy top rank rivalry, and apparently, as part of his rehabilitation from cocaine addiction, Oscar De La Hoya has decided that he wants to make amends with Bob Arum and to try and end the feud between the two promotional companies.
yeah?
Richard Schaefer is not interested in that because he says Oscar changes his mind every year or two. So, what do you think about that?
Um,
Yeah, just go. Just what do you think about that?
as a fan of boxing, I would like to see that they end the rivalry. I want to see some of these matchups. I don't know if people are still interested in Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather, but just to see Floyd knock him out, I would like to see that fight at some point in the near future. I would like to see. Well, I don't know. I don't want to see the Tim Bradley that I saw fight Manny Pacquiao fight anybody, but the Tim Bradley before that, the few fights before that, I want to see him come back and fight. You know, fight a few different people because, to be honest, I'm starting the Golden Boy. I know they have pretty much everybody under the sun under their wing, but those guys fighting each other is starting to not to be very appealing anymore. So I want to see some cross promotional fights.
Okay, let me cut you off.
Yeah.
Keith Thurman and Sean Porter, though.
No, that's dope. Yeah, that's dope. Yeah, that's dope right there.
All right, go ahead, go ahead. That's all I
Okay.
wanted to
All
say.
right. Sorry. All right. But that's just one fight, Andres. I mean,
No, there are a couple others that I could name, but that's
you know,
probably the main one.
huh?
There's a
You know,
couple others, but that's probably the main one.
I'll say, um, all right, okay, yeah, that Sean Porter Thurman fight was dope. Would be, oh shoot, yeah, they could put together a few fights, but overall, I still think we need some cross promotional fights, just because it's good for the sport of boxing. You know, I want to see the Triple G's of the world fight the best people. I still don't know how I feel about him. But you know, I want to see some good fights, and we need the two companies to fight with each other, fight against each other. So I'm with Oscar in that sense because he wants to do it for the greater good of the sport. But I can understand where Richard Schaefer is coming from, where you know you got this history of kiss and make up with this guy, and our company doesn't need that type of you know that type of what's the word I'm looking for there? You know, um,
Well, I mean, I think I agree with what I think you're saying
yeah,
in that um, the company doesn't need the company doesn't need to be waffling. You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
either you're working 50-50 with Top Rank and you know everybody has a fair say and a fair shake and is getting a fair deal from the TV company, or you're like, all right, you're not giving us a fair shake, so we're gonna do our own thing and we're competent and we're gonna be able to do a better job than you, you know. And I think Richard Schaefer tried for a long time to try and get a 50-50 shake with Bob Arum, and Bob Arum wasn't interested in that. Bob Arum was interested in everybody being subservient to him.
yeah,
Bob Arum is interested in total capitulation from his rivals.
yeah,
And when Richard Schaefer wasn't really interested in that, then he got really upset with Richard Schaefer. And, you know, now Richard Schaefer is like, I mean, that's what you wanted from us, so why can't you give that to us now that we're better than you?
mm-hmm,
I agree with you in that it would be better for the sport if the two were able to work together. But, you know, seeing as many racist things as Bob Arum has said, I mean, like people talk about Donald Sterling like there's a history of this guy saying,
Yeah,
either racist or borderline racist thing. I mean, Bob Arum is at least as bad.
yeah.
He's just lucky he doesn't have a half Mexican, half black girlfriend who's fucking black dudes to like
Bring it out
spill
of
that out on. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
that's the only thing different between the two of them.
yeah,
Um, Now, would it be good? Yeah, but HBO is not interested in participating in that.
yeah.
I think Showtime
That's
would
another
be.
problem. Well, then they promote it on Showtime. Fuck it.
No, but I mean, like HBO is throwing so much money at top rank fighters and guys like Triple G, who's not a top rank fighter, but he's an HBO fighter.
Yeah,
That like the reason why Adonis Stevenson left was because he was like, you gave all that money to Triple G, why not give some to me? Like
yeah,
so. Um, I think I have to side with Richard Schaefer. I mean, like, I'm
yeah,
not gonna be your errand boy,
yeah,
Like I'm moved beyond that, and I think Golden Boy has moved beyond that. Golden Boy is not just some fledgling promotional company. Golden Boy is the top grossing and top netting promotional company in the United States, which is the highest revenue country for boxing.
true, true. All right.
So, I don't know where Oscar thinks he's gonna take over the company. Um, like being a no-show for years, and then finally getting out of rehab and being like, "It's my company." Yeah, it is. I mean, you're the majority owner, but like give Richard Schaefer some credit. I mean, he was managing the company while you were like doing line after line with Joe Calzaghe and Rick Hatton. I mean, like.
Yeah,
Like I mean, give him some credit.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, yeah,
But Floyd Mayweather said that if Oscar wants to fire Richard Schaefer, Richard knows that he has a job at Mayweather any day he wants it.
yeah,
Um, and Al Heyman was accused by Kathy Duva from Main Events,
hmm,
who's suing Adonis Stevenson, his team, Al Heyman, and Golden Boy for interference
yeah,
on the fact that the Adonis Stevenson Sergey Kovalev fight is not going to happen.
yeah,
Basically said that what Al Heyman's plan is to create his own boxing league that's monopolistic. I mean, like kind of like the NFL, I guess.
hmm.
Um,
UFC.
well, yeah, but I mean, like any major pro sports in the United States is monopolistic. I mean, like
Yeah,
there's not.
the whole point.
Yeah, there's not multiple leagues competing against each other. I mean, I don't understand. Like, even Andrew Carnegie said there are certain businesses in the United States that are natural monopolies.
Yeah,
I
hmm,
believe sports is one of them.
yeah.
Not to say that it's good for only one person to be making all the money, but
What when you have several entities within that sport, it's fine. You know what I'm saying? I mean, because they're keep competing against each other still. Well, not and boxing is a lot different. Let's say football; those teams are still competing against each other, and they're going to do whatever they need to do to bring the people to the stadium so they can have the money to do whatever it is they need to do as an entity.
yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah. But it's an oligarchy, if you want to talk about in those terms. I mean, I think it's stupid. I mean, I think it's like a freshman year college debate. Like,
saying?
monopolies are bad. We shouldn't have monopoly. It's like it's not a monopoly. I mean, every single one of these boxers is competing against each other, and they have their own interests.
Yeah,
Like the promotional company doesn't control them like hand over fist. I mean,
yeah,
like they're all competing against each other, and they all want to fight each other. It's
yeah,
the same thing with the teams. Like,
yeah,
yeah, they're under the same rule, but they like
yeah.
Ravens don't fucking like the Steelers. I mean, or
Nope.
the like, you know what I mean? Like your boys, the Raiders, we don't like you guys, and you
Yeah,
don't like us. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like it's not like we're all in this together for
No,
Roger Goodell.
no, yeah, yeah.
That's not how it works.
No, not at all.
And it's like that's what I'm saying. It's like a freshman year seminar in college. Like, oh, monopolies are bad. let's just do anything to avoid that. Like it's like I don't know. Like
Yeah,
it's
I'm with you. I'm in total agreement. I'm in total.
so like with what Al Heyman is doing, like maybe it's not good for certain people who've been around for a long time and all of a sudden are feeling their pockets squeezed, and I can understand that because they've been working very hard.
Yeah,
It's like not like they're going against what's good for the sport of boxing. But if Al Heyman does it better, if Richard Schaefer does it better, if either Oscar De La Hoya or Floyd Mayweather are willing to finance that and it
hmm
works, I mean, like what's wrong with that?
nothing, nothing.
So, like if Miguel Cotto were to beat Maravilla, and I don't necessarily think that, or if Maravilla were to win the fight, to me that's the best fight out there for Floyd Mayweather. Period. It's not going to happen
I think
because
I think a lot.
there's this competition. There's this competition between the HBO fighters and the Showtime fighters.
Yeah,
There's this competition, and the two different companies, as part of their competition, are keeping them away from each other, not bringing them together.
yeah.
That's why I say it's
Monopolies are good in certain instances.
fucking academia. I mean, they live in the clouds.
Yeah,
They live in the clouds. I mean, this is the real world.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But I still think not to say that I think the Canelo rematch or Lara fight would be a better a better fight than the Cotto fight.
Okay, I won't argue with you. I won't
We
argue
won't
with you.
argue. We won't argue. We won't
I
argue.
won't argue with you because to me, either fight is better than a Maidana rematch.
Yes.
Not because I think that Maidana doesn't deserve a rematch just in general. It's just that with 3 fights left,
Yeah.
Maidana can go back, fight Robert Guerrero, fight whoever wins a fight between Keith Thurman or Sean Porter, or fight both of them, or whoever, or fight Adrian Broner again, or whatever, and establish himself as the best 147 pounder. Like right now, all Floyd should be doing is fighting big events. And he fought Maidana because that was the biggest fight out there for him at the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it shouldn't be the biggest fight out there for him twice in 1 year when he only fights twice.
Yeah. 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 I agree. I agree. But I don't know. A lot of people, when I talk to people at work, a lot of people had it a lot closer than you had it, and so
Okay. All right, fine.
so
That's
maybe
fine. I mean, I don't.
it's all about the general public though. When people think it was a close fight, you know what I'm saying, and they want to see it again, you gotta give them what they want. I wouldn't think it would be the thing that
Are more people gonna buy? Are more people gonna buy Mayweather Maidana 2 than Mayweather whoever wins Maravilla Cotto for the
no,
middleweight championship?
no. You're right. No one would. No, no.
That's all I'm saying.
Because
That's all I'm saying.
he would have to move up in weight, and he would be doing essentially what Roy Jones started to do, like towards the end of his career. Well, without getting knocked out far, but
Yeah.
he'd be moving up in weight and hopefully dominating his competition. So yeah, yeah,
No, but I mean, like, whether he dominates or not, he's
yeah,
fighting for the real middleweight championship of the
yeah.
world.
That's true.
A
That's true.
guy
That's true.
who,
But say if Cotto wins and he has to fight Cotto for the middleweight championship of the world, that's not like it was a close fight. Well, wasn't really close, but it was a competitive fight. Do you think people would turn out for that?
yeah,
I know I would. You know,
yeah,
Cotto's my guy,
yeah,
but
yeah, people would.
yeah,
People would. And
yeah,
I'm going to tell you why. Being the middleweight champion means something.
yeah,
Being the welterweight champion means something.
yeah,
Being the welterweight and middleweight champion at the same time
yeah.
really means something. There's never been someone who was undeniably the welterweight champion,
Mm-hmm.
undeniably the junior middleweight champion, undeniably the middleweight champion at the exact same time.
Yeah, that's true.
That's never happened. Now, part of that is because junior middleweight wasn't created until the late 70s, and since the late 70s, there hasn't been someone good enough to do it. Not even Ray Leonard,
yeah,
who would really have been the only other guy who could have done it.
yeah,
But that's just never happened. Never happened. And the late 70s were 35 years ago.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's true. That's true. That's
It's a
impressive.
huge fight. I think that's, huh?
That's impressive. And that'll go a long way for him to say he's the best ever.
Yeah. Now, if he were to clean out welterweight with all the young guys, I would still be very impressed with that. I'm just saying that is a rematch with Maidana necessary?
No, I
I would
would.
rather see him fight somebody else. I mean, there are other good young welterweight contenders. I mean, younger than Maidana,
Yeah.
um, that I would rather see him fight.
So
Now,
the Danny Garcias of the world and
yeah, yeah,
guys like
Danny
that.
Garcia.
I would pay. I would. I don't know if I would pay to watch that fight, but I definitely watch it. Yeah.
That fight's probably not ready yet. That fight's probably not ready yet. Actually, what I would, if I'm talking about what I would like to see Danny Garcia do,
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see Danny Garcia go against Amir Khan. I think that's the right fight for both of them right
Yeah,
now.
that's a dope fight. That's a real dope fight.
Then whoever wins that gets Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah.
Same thing with Thurman and Porter. Whoever wins that gets Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah.
But you
That's a
know, I
dope
mean,
fight. Well, they're either one is going to get slaughtered by Floyd, though.
well, I think
I give Sean Porter more of a chance than I would Keith Thurman.
that's what I was just about to say. I
Yeah.
think what Sean Porter brings to the table is something that could potentially pose problems for Floyd. Is either going to slow Porter down to the point where he's not effective at all, or Porter is going to speed Floyd Mayweather up in a way that Floyd. I've never. This is one thing I used to say all the time is that I've never seen anyone speed Floyd Mayweather up. Like
Yeah.
if he decides he wants to throw 45 or 50 punches around, he's going to slow his opponent down to the point where 45 or 50 punches around is going to be clearly better.
Yeah.
He threw about 50 punches around against Maidana, and Maidana threw about 85 punches around, which is the reason why a lot of people thought Maidana won because he was just throwing so many more punches.
Punches. Yeah.
Yeah, but Floyd still landed more.
Yeah.
But just the fact that Maidana was throwing so many more punches, people thought that Maidana was winning a lot of the rounds.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I mean, that's why judging is so subjective. But my thing is that Porter could do a lot of those same things.
Yeah.
So if people really liked what happened between Maidana and Mayweather, they're gonna like what happens between Porter and Mayweather. But Porter, I think he still needs to beat somebody else.
Yeah. 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 I mean, you couldn't sell that fight.
Not at the moment, no.
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 Yeah. Yeah. So. Yeah. All right.
Anyway, any other thoughts? Bernard won again.
Yeah.
Deontay Wilder is lined up to fight for the heavyweight title against whoever wins between Chris Arreola and Bermane Stiverne. Vitaly Klitschko retired. Vladimir Klitschko is still fighting, and Nonito Donaire is coming back. Any thoughts?
Not many as of right now. I know you were saying. I know there's been reports that Hopkins is going to fight Adonis Stevenson.
Yeah.
That I'm intrigued by. I'm intrigued by that fight. Wilder, I'm still looking. He looked impressive last fight that I saw him in. I just want to see more from him. And I could care about Vitaly Klitschko. I wish they would just disappear because they wouldn't fight each other. So
Right.
I wanted them two to knock each other out. So give me something entertaining. So I could care less about those two. But yeah, I want to see more from Wilder. And Chris Arreola looked good in his last fight, but it was against Seth Mitchell. Was that the last time he fought?
Yeah. So the fight before that, he had lost to Bermane Stiverne. Now they're both fighting again against each other, and this is for Vitaly's vacated title.
Uh-huh. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I'll watch it. It's a heavyweight fight. I'll watch two big guys punch each other in the face anytime. So I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, I want to see Bernard fight Adonis Stevenson and see what he can do. That's a real challenge. That's a real challenge.
Okay.
Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, I respect everything that Bernard Hopkins has done in boxing. I would love to see him get laid out by Adonis Stevenson. And here's the reason why.
Yeah.
I always feel like a great champion, and this is bad, But I always feel like a great champion needs to get laid out before he's willing to admit that he doesn't have it anymore.
Yeah.
And Bernard does not have it anymore. Bernard is willing and able to take the air out of the ball so well that he's able to win fights that he almost like shouldn't be able to win.
Yeah.
The only guy who was able to prevent that from happening was Chad Dawson. And I would love to see someone just completely starch him. And if Jean Pascal can knock Bernard Hopkins down, and he did, I can only imagine what Adonis Stevenson can do if he's actually able to land.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, as far as the Klitschko's go, I was a little bit disappointed that Vitaly retired before someone got a chance to really knock him out. And I thought Deontay Wilder might be the guy. I just believe that Deontay Wilder's style would have matched up way better against Vitaly than Vladimir. And Vladimir is going to continue fighting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the guy is not even averaging 2 rounds per fight. I mean, he's knocking everybody out early. So I've been a very firm believer for a very long time that you don't win championship fights unless you have over 100 rounds of, like, championship fights against real champions, not just guys who hold a belt.
Yeah.
Unless you have over 100 rounds of experience, and usually over about 130, 140 rounds. Deontay Wilder in 31 fights has like 54 rounds of experience. So it's tough, you know, like the guy has too much power for his own good.
That dude is cut up though, man.
I mean, it's just like Malik Scott had not been knocked out, not been knocked down, had not lost many rounds.
Yeah.
And he got knocked down by Derek Chisora and just stopped just because he got knocked down and it was in England and he was giving Derek Chisora a little bit of trouble.
Yeah.
So his next fight was against Deontay Wilder, and the first punch that landed, it was over. So, you know, I don't know who else they're going to put him in against. You know, like everybody's just going down.
Who's fighting in the heavyweight ranks right now? I mean,
that's the problem. Is it's not a strong division.
Yeah. It's sad. Yeah. It's sad because, you know, you grew up on heard about the Mike Tysons, and we grew up with some pretty good heavyweight champions, the Evander Holyfields, the Riddick
Bowe's, Lennox Lewis, yeah.
Yeah, it was at least good boxing, you know. Mike Tyson, even though he wasn't the Mike Tyson of his younger years, but it was names you could recognize and people that were willing to step in the ring with you.
I mean, shit, even Michael Moore and George Foreman at that time were decent, you know.
Yeah. It's sad, man, to see that division that way. Like, nobody wants to do it anymore. Everybody wants to play football, basketball. So.
Yeah, it's tough.
They don't make that many Mexicans that big.
Well, Chris Arreola, man, he's not that good. And the guy they call Andy Reese, he actually has my same first name, but he'd rather be called Andy. Yeah, he's not that good either. And I already learned about rooting for fighters from Mexicali. He's from Mexicali also, but after what happened with Angulo, I'm not going to do it anymore. Not going to do it. Angulo and Arreola, I'm just not doing it anymore.
Secretly do it. That's all. Secretly.
No, I'm not doing it anymore. He's gonna have to show me. He's gonna have to show out, man. I mean, he's just gonna have to do a Bruno and just show his ass, man. I mean, that's gonna have to happen. Otherwise, it's not gonna happen.
Oh man, he might get knocked through the ropes. He do that, man.
Probably. I mean, whether he does it or not. But yeah, you know, I mean, it is what it is. But you know, good for Bernard to win another big fight. Hopefully Adonis Stevenson gets his chance, and you know, we'll see a good fight. And I don't really care who wins. I just think that Adonis Stevenson, it would be nice if he were to win the way I think he might be able to. The Klitschko's, you know, somebody's gonna have to really show out to beat Vladimir, because Vladimir, even at 37, is still a top fighter, just like Floyd Mayweather. And then everything else, I mean, you know, like with Nonito Donaire, I mean, show me something, man. Show me something.
Yeah.
Stop resting on your name, you know.
Yeah. Nonito, man. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see with him. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see going forward.
All right, man. So let's wrap it up there,
All right.
and let's plan to do another show before the finals, NBA finals.
Yeah, I'm with it. I'm with it.
All right, sounds good.
All right.
All right.
Yeah.